Good evening and welcome to the January 13th, 2021 edition of the Bobby Hesley Show. How's everybody doing? Crazy times we're living in, guys. Crazy times. Guys, give me 1 second. I will be right back. Apologize about that, guys. Had something important I had to tend to there. Something that was out of place. Anyhow, crazy things happening in our world and in our country, guys. President Donald Trump becomes the very first president in history, sitting president, to be impeached twice. Now, keep in mind, folks, he's not the only president to be impeached. There's been plenty of presidents that have been impeached. Bill Clinton was impeached. Okay. They tried to impeach Bush over Iraq, and there's nothing new about that. But the fact is, this is fake news from the left. And I felt a moral obligation to hop on and set the record straight about what exactly it is that's going on. Now, the fact is, you have all kinds of news outlets like the Drudge Report, for example. Get a load of Drudge, guys. Look at this. Let me show you some craziness here. So if you look at the Drudge Report, this thing's funny. This thing used to be a, ultra-right site. It's gone completely left. I don't think Matt Drudge has any principles whatsoever. But the fact is, this thing has been counting down literally by the hour. Drudge wants Trump out of office so bad that it's been counting down by the hour how much time he has left in office. 160 hours left. Impeached again, historic disgrace. Trump is a flight risk. And look at this article. Trump becomes first president to be impeached twice as bipartisan majority charges him with inciting Capitol riot. Now, that's the key word, folks. They are charging him with inciting a Capitol riot. That's what an impeachment is, guys. It's a charge. It's not a conviction. It's a charge. There's a big difference between the two. The House impeached President Trump on Wednesday for inciting the attack on the U.S. Capitol last week. And this is very unfortunate. The riot left at least 5 people dead, including a Capitol police officer. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer in the chamber plans to send the article of impeachment to the Senate immediately, though there may not be enough time to remove Trump before President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. Now, let's just stop there. I can't take it anymore. I can't read anymore. Now, they know darn well that they wouldn't be able to remove him. This whole impeachment thing is ceremonial, folks. This is all a big circus show. This is all for politics. That's what this whole thing is. And that's why it's fake news from the left. Let me set the record straight. Impeaching a president is not the equivalent of removing a president, or if you want to be fancy schmancy about it, ousting a president. The only way that you can remove a sitting president is if you convict him on charges. And I contend that both of the impeachments for Donald Trump are on fake charges. No pun intended. They are on trumped up charges. Literally. They are literally trumping up the charges against number 45 because he was actually acquitted in his first impeachment. Let's not forget, folks, Donald Trump was acquitted. Why? Because there was no evidence that he did anything wrong with that Ukraine call. As a matter of fact, that entire first impeachment was one giant show of gaslighting. They were gaslighting us because it was Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the one who has the arrest warrant in Ukraine. Joe Biden is the one who's caught on camera doing quid pro quo, bragging about his quid pro quo about, listen, we're not going to give you $1 billion if you guys don't back off my son. 6 hours later, he says, son of a bee, they backed off and they got their $1 billion. I was bragging about it on tape. There's arrest warrants for Joe Biden in the Ukraine. So Donald Trump's first impeachment was to wag the dog. It was to distract everybody from what Joe Biden was actually doing because they were trying to set him up to be the 2020 nominee. So they had to impeach. They had to get all the focus of impeachment over Ukraine on Trump and off of Biden. But it's Biden that should have gone through that circus, not Donald Trump. So let me set the record straight. There's a quote here about impeachment that I want to read. And guys, please like this video, comment on it, share it. There's actually a link that's going to really help you understand the impeachment process, but you have to go over to my YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button if you want to access that link. You will see the description of it when this video renders, and in the video description section, you will see the link where you can really educate yourself and up your IQ on the impeachment process, okay? I don't want to do all the work for you. I don't want to do all the heavy lifting. You got to do some of it yourself, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that. So let me set the record straight with this quote. And again, go to my YouTube channel if you want to read the rest. It says, quote, in the United States, impeachment is only the first of two stages, and conviction during the second stage requires, quote, the concurrence of 2/3 of the members present. Impeachment does not necessarily result in removal from office, like I've been telling you. It is only a legal statement of charges parallel to an indictment in criminal law. An official who is impeached faces a second legislative vote, whether by the same body or by another, which determines conviction or failure to convict, like in the case of Trump's first impeachment. They failed to convict him on the trumped up Ukraine charges because there was nothing there. On the charges embodied by the impeachment, most constitutions require a supermajority to convict. Even if the subject of the charge is criminal action, it does not constitute a criminal trial. Just like those Senate investigation hearings, those are all just for show. You can't go to jail. Nobody can slap handcuffs on you if you answer one of the questions wrong. When they subpoena Zuck down there and Ted Cruz says, Mr. Zuckerberg, do you like to censor conservatives on Facebook? They're not going to handcuff Zuck if he doesn't answer the question according to Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz's liking. So it's not a criminal trial. It's all senatorial. That's not saying that an impeached president can't be criminally convicted once he leaves office. But let's not make it think that Trump, it's a criminal trial that Trump is under. He just got hit with a felony. Trump just got hit with a presidential felony today. That's how they're trying to make it look, folks, but that ain't what the law says, as if the law even matters anymore nowadays. It continues, the only question under consideration is the removal of the individual from office and the possibilities of a subsequent vote preventing the removed official from ever holding political office in the same jurisdiction they were removed. So, guys, they know for a fact, they know darn well that there's no way that they can impeach Donald Trump by January 20th because the process is going to take too long and he'll already be out of office by the time they're even able to do anything. And Mitch McConnell is actually talking about that. Mitch McConnell said it would require I'm sorry. I got to do my Mitch McConnell voice. I got to do my treasonous Republican Mitch McConnell voice. It will require the consent of all 100 senators to conduct any business of any kind during scheduled pro forma sessions prior to January 2019, McConnell's memo said, according to The Hill. McConnell continues, the Senate trial will therefore begin after President Trump's term has expired, either 1 hour after its expiration or on January 20th, or 25 hours after its expiration on January 21st, the memo added. And I'm sure the memo doesn't say this, but I'm sure Mitch McConnell was thinking, oh, by the way, hey, GOP donor base, can you guys send us some more of that hashtag stop the steal money? We fleeced millions of dollars out of you hashtag stop the steal Republicans, and we'd like you to send us more money. So can you guys do that for us? I know we sold you under the bus. I know the court sold you out. I know Mike Pence threw us all under the bus. I know 10 of us voted to impeach Donald Trump. We don't like Mr. President, but we do like your money. So please send us your money and your votes. Guys, I can't tell you how many people I know that are done with the GOP, man. There are so many people. They're done with the GOP, dude. They're done. They are done with the GOP. Well, it loses effect. You got to do the voice of the people you're talking about. Otherwise, it's just going to be boring narration. Oh, Mr. President, here's going to be a conversation between Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden. Mr. President, well, actually, you're still Mr. President-elect, but to me, you're always Mr. President. Mr. President, can we strike some kind of deal with the Democrats? how much money, Mr. President, would you Democrats take per Republican that we throw under the bus? Could you give us $10,000 per Republican that we betray, Mr. President? We're terrible negotiators, but that's our starting price. But if you want to give us $5,000 per Republican that we betray, we would accept that too. Because he's such a, McConnell's such a terrible negotiator. He negotiates against himself before Biden even has a chance to open up his pie hole, and then Biden walks in. Come on, man. Well, you know what? Yeah, we'll give you $5,000 per Republican that you betray, but I don't think it's going to matter, man. We got this Dominion thing system dialed in, man. Me and Kamala, we're going to repeal the 22nd Amendment, and we're going to run for 4 terms like FDR did, man. We're going to be getting rid of that 22nd Amendment, all this 2-term business. 22nd Amendment. I want you guys to get familiar with it. The 22nd Amendment was put in place because FDR would not leave the freaking White House after 4 terms. Prior to FDR, this notion of a 2-term presidency was a gentleman's agreement. It was Scout's honor. It wasn't written into law. They had to draft the 22nd Amendment because FDR just wouldn't leave, man. And it was during the Depression. He was holding the country back. So it was the 22nd Amendment that installed the 2-term limit. Guys, listen, if these Democrats are trying to add 3 states to the Union, if they're trying to turn Guam and Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. in the state so that they can add more electoral votes, they can add more Senate seats, they can add more congressional rep districts, they're talking about trying to get rid of the Electoral College. Listen, if they're willing to make all those kinds of changes, you don't think they're going to try to go after the 22nd Amendment that removes the 2-term limit? You got another thing coming. Don't put anything past these Democrats and these Republicans, guys. We're in for some hard times. It's time for us to get really, really close to God. It's time for us to get really close to each other. It's time for us to buckle up, and it's time for us, as I've been saying this past week, it's been my theme. It's time for us to do 2 things. It's time for us to focus on the things in our life that we can control, and it's also time for us to think critically, to test every spirit, to not take everything we hear at face value, to be wary of fake news from the right. Fake news from the right has pretty much been outpacing fake news from the left lately. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But the fact is, just like the first impeachment of Donald Trump, based on trumped up charges, pun intended, over a non-existent criminal Ukraine call that Biden is most likely guilty of, his second impeachment, I believe, is also based on false charges, because what specifically did Donald Trump say to incite a riot? What did he say specifically? That's my question. Because think about this, folks. If Donald Trump truly said something that incited a riot, if Donald Trump was like, okay, people, go down to the Capitol building and storm the Capitol building. Guys, I guarantee if Trump would have given the order to do that, they would have done it, like worse than they did. Guys, there were over 1 million people in Washington, D.C. If all the people that went down to Washington, D.C. went down there to storm the Capitol and to incite a riot, do you really think that the only people that would have made it inside is some dude wearing Viking horns with a Davy Crockett hat and a bunch of tattoos, taking selfies? That thing would have been overrun. There would have been tens of thousands of people. There would have been thousands of people in there. And I'm not trying to minimize. There's bad things that happen. I mean, 5 people died. That's terrible. One of which was a Capitol police officer. But those people who breached the Capitol was a tiny percentage of the people that were there. They were not representative of all the people that turned out in Washington, D.C. They were a small fraction of those people. But I've been looking hard, guys, and I can't find the specific wording that Donald Trump used to incite a riot. Because think about this, folks. If Donald Trump was on tape inciting a riot, and there was a specific thing that he said that triggered all these people to just storm the Capitol, don't you think the media would be wearing us out with that clip? Don't you think the media would be looping that clip 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, 366 days a year? Huh? They would be showing that clip more than they showed the clip of the buildings flying to the World Trade Center on 9/11. That's how much they hate Trump. You guys remember 9/11? All we saw for the week after week, all we saw were boom, those planes hitting the building, boom, buildings collapsing, boom, 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 over and over and over. They burn those images into our mind. so that we never forget, and we never should. But I guarantee you that if there was actual footage of Donald Trump inciting the riot, they would have played that footage more than they played the clips of the planes hitting the building on 9/11. And that's why Donald Trump has been deplatformed, because Donald Trump actually did the opposite. Donald Trump told everybody to go home and to be peaceful. And he condemned the violence. And that's why Donald Trump has been deplatformed. That's why the most powerful man in the world, actually, we thought he was the most powerful man in the world. It turned out that he wasn't. Mark Zuckerberg and Jake, who's the guy that owns Twitter. It turned out these social media moguls are actually more powerful than Donald Trump, because he's been kicked off all the major platforms. And I truly believe that the reason why Donald Trump was kicked off those platforms was because by kicking Donald Trump off those platforms, they also buried all the evidence to the contrary of their narrative, because Trump made video after video, tweet after tweet, denouncing the violence, condemning the violence minutes after it happened. That's why they kicked him off, guys. They had to bury the evidence of him doing contrary to what their narrative is saying. But thankfully, the CEO of Gab backed up his entire Twitter account. Did you guys hear about that? Gab is very similar to Twitter. I guess it's kind of like it's the competitive answer to Parler. We're about to see a lot of free market capitalism. I know it seems like we've entered into an oligarchy of all these tech giants that are going to rule the world. And that is a tragic part of what's going on, guys. That is part of what we're witnessing. Part of what we're witnessing is basically tech companies becoming wings of the federal government. Mark Zuckerberg, all these big shots, man. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, all these people that have a play in media are now part of the government. They're pretty much part of the Biden administration now. They're part of the new left media. You know, the left, here's what you guys have to realize. The left had to scramble to replace the old media, because the old media has been in the tank for the left since the resignation of Nixon. Maybe I'll do a whole nother show on that someday, where I go into the history of the leftist media bias. You guys know where all the bias with the media started. It actually started with Richard Nixon, okay? Once they took Nixon down for the Watergate scandal, once the media got a taste of how pleasurable it is to get a president to resign based on stories that you run about him, that taste only grew over the decades. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. And unfortunately, the first president to be taken down by the leftist media was a Republican president. I'm sure if it was a Democrat president, they probably would have gone after the Democrats the way you see them go after the Republicans. Although that could be doubtful, because the Democrat Party has been hijacked by communists. It's been infiltrated and hijacked, and communists need a propaganda wing. They need a ministry of propaganda. And that's what the media is, folks. It has become the ministry of propaganda for the Democrat Party and for the communist left. But once they were able to take down Nixon and they saw him resign, they saw him throw up his deuces, they thought, there's a little something to this. We're going to go hard at these Republican presidents. And they've perfected the art. And unfortunately, guys, the media, the deep state, the Democrats, the Republicans, China, all these forces combined that wanted Trump gone, they all just proved to be not too powerful for him. But I really think they ended up outsmarting Trump, and they outsmarted all of us. Because like I said on my previous podcast, I believe that we had a little bit of Hillary arrogance in 2020. I think we should have been a lot more prepared for what happened. I think we should have had template emails ready to go to challenge everything that happened. And we didn't have that. And I think we underestimated the left, just like the left underestimated us in 2016, and they went ape crap over this unexpected victory that we got over them. Unfortunately, I think we underestimated them in 2020. We saw the big MAGA rallies. We saw these 30, 40,000 people gathering in 20-degree weather out in cornfields in the middle of nowhere just to go to a 2-hour Trump rally. And he was doing 2 or 3 of those rallies a day, 6, 7 days a week. And I just think we knew that we were going to landslide. And I think we should have been more prepared at the grassroots level than we were. We turned out to vote, no doubt, but we should have had a better apparatus in place to counter what happened to us on November 3rd. And I'm not going to go into the specifics what happened to us. But that's kind of the bottom line, guys. That's kind of the bottom line. And that's a good point, Deb. President Trump was still talking when the Capitol was attacked. You're right. You're definitely right. You're definitely right. So now I want to shift into a more, I'm not going to call it pastoral direction because I'm not ordained. I'm not a priest. I'm a layman. But guys, I want to shift into another direction now. And it's not anything new. You're going to see a lot more as my shows progress. You're going to see a side of me that a lot of this political stuff has prevented you guys from seeing. You've seen snippets of it. I've leaked a little bit out of it here or there. You've been seeing Bobby Hessley, the spin doctor, this whole time. I like giving my spin on politics. And I enjoy it. You know, people, I've been told that I'm good at it, that I give good analysis, and I appreciate that. It's part of the philosopher, critical thinker in me. But I'm going to be moving in a direction where you're actually going to get to know the man, Bobby Hessley, a little bit better. Not just the spinster, not just the spin doctor, Bobby Hessley, but the actual man, Bobby Hessley. And I've been slowly letting a little bit of that out of myself these last 2 weeks, especially with how I've been telling us to cope with what's going on. Because honestly, guys, whenever I tell you guys to focus on the things in your life that you can control, instead of spending all your time and energy focusing on the things that you can't control, you guys do realize that I'm not just talking to you, right? You do realize that I'm also talking to me too. I'm preaching to myself. Guys, one thing you're going to learn about me as we take this journey together, and I'm with you guys. We're together in this. These next 4 to 8 years, we're all in this thing together. I ain't going nowhere. You guys are stuck with me. And I'm going to continue to give my analysis of all things political and cultural and everything like that. But I'm also going to be talking about other things. Because, guys, we have to face the fact that a lot of what's going to be coming over the next 4 to 8 years, we're not going to have a whole lot of control over. We're not. And I'm not saying that to make you feel hopeless. I'm not saying that to sound fatalist or defeatist or anything like that. Because believe it or not, folks, even though we've had all these lockdowns, even though the economy is the way it is and the election turned out the way it did, there's still a lot that we have to be thankful for. There's still a lot that we can tend to if we would just switch our brains and if we could just switch our focus to the micro things in our life, not the macro things in our life, right? Macro issues is all this political stuff, all this election stuff, all this impeachment, inauguration, all these world events. Those are macro issues that it's easy to focus on those things because they divert our attention away from some of the more uncomfortable, unpleasant things in our lives that we'd probably rather not spend a whole lot of time addressing. Maybe it's our weight. Maybe it's our finances. Maybe it's certain relationships. The list goes on, right? But those are the things that we need to be focused on, guys, because there's still quite a bit of wiggle room for happiness, even in this messed up world that we're living in. We can still be very, very happy if we focus on these aspects of our lives. And on that note, I want to give a friendly challenge to all of my friends on the right, okay? And that's this. Stop listening to the fake news that's coming out from the right. Guys, I can't tell you how disgusted I have been with our side lately. Not with you guys. I love you guys. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about these content creators out there who are making a lot of money, getting lots of subscriptions, getting lots of super chats, selling a lot of their products, selling false hope. There comes a point where hope degenerates into delusion. Up until a few weeks ago, I was very hopeful. I was very optimistic. I was saying it ain't over. It ain't over. Have you guys noticed I'm not saying that anymore? Because it's not that I've given up hope, because my hope was never in President Trump. My hope has always been in God. So I haven't given up hope, but I have accepted reality. And there's a difference between accepting reality and quitting. Just because I'm accepting the reality of what's before us doesn't mean that I've quit. If anything, it's been the opposite. I can't tell you how busy I've been lately. I have been working all day, guys. I literally just, right before I hopped on this podcast, I took about a 10 or 15 minute break. I've been at it all day with my real estate business. Great things are happening there. And I'm going to be sharing those things with you guys. That's all part of the journey. But there's a new term that I'm going to affectionately call a certain demographic of people that I feel are spewing poisonous hope. They are spewing poisonous delusion. And I'm going to refer to them as the Q right. You guys have heard of people like Q. And another way I can refer to them as the trust the plan crowd. They keep saying, trust the plan, trust the plan, trust the plan. Not that I believe anything what they say, but I was even listening to one of their shows today just to see what they're talking about. Because I said to myself, you know what? How many of these guys are still stringing people along? How many of these guys out there are still selling this false hope as if something last minute miracle is going to happen, that our Red Sea moment is going to occur? And believe it or not, they're doubling down on it, guys. They're saying Trump had to expose the deep state. He had to show everybody how corrupt it is. And guys, we've always known how corrupt the deep state is. And I will say, everything that's happened since November 3rd, it has shown us how corrupt everything is. And it's much more corrupt than we all thought. So much to the point where I had to come up with a new phrase called the deep court. I thought the deep state was bad enough, but this last turn of events has shown me that we also suffer from a deep court. The Trump nominees, they were all in on it. They're all part of the deep court, except Thomas and Alito. They're good. But everybody else is part of the deep court, man. And that's upsetting. But these Q spin doctors out there are still saying, oh, just wait, guys. We still have 7 days. He's waiting until the last minute. He's got that Trump card up his sleeve. Well, where is it? Where's the proof you have of it? They're trying to spin all these soldiers that are in Washington, D.C., that there's going to be this. Where's the Insurrection Act, huh? It ain't going to happen, guys. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. And there's a reason why I'm not calling them conspiracy theorists. I agree, Afsun. I hope I'm saying your name right. It's a beautiful and unique name. But yes, Q has made people delusional. He has. Avery Soto, not to spread false hope, but did you hear anything about Giuliani having evidence of Dominion from Georgia election? Honestly, even if I didn't hear about that, Avery, but even if I did hear about it, what proof do we have? Show us the evidence then. We keep hearing all these people. Yeah, you're right, Delia. We keep hearing all these people saying there's evidence. Show it to us. Because last time I checked, Pope Francis was supposed to resign on Christmas. Oh, well, that came and went. Then Pope Francis was supposed to be arrested. That came and went. Then Nancy Pelosi was supposed to be arrested. That came and went. Then they said that Trump got Nancy Pelosi's laptop and he was bunkered down in Texas reading through her laptop. That came and went. Because yesterday Trump was in Texas, but he was out in the open. He wasn't hunkered down in some bunker with the Marines protecting him. He was out doing speeches about the wall. Then they said, oh, there's supposed to be an emergency broadcast between the 12th and the 13th. Well, guess what? That came and went too. It's an emergency broadcast because Trump is trying to test the system so that when everything goes off the grid, he can still communicate with the people through an emergency broadcast. Well, that came and went. You're right, Will McAllister. Quit fake news, whether it's fake news from the left or fake news from the right. What will come of it? Exactly, Tony. None of these things happen. All these rolling deadlines. Yeah, Pamela. Yeah, Obama's pleading in a jail. There's people. Guys, I guarantee you right now that if I wanted to, I can create an article saying that Barack Obama has been arrested by Donald Trump a week leading up to the election. And I guarantee you, not only would people believe it, but they would spam it in all their little echo chamber groups. Hey, did you guys hear? I'd be getting a bunch of Facebook Messenger spams of my own freaking fake story that I put out there. And people would run with it and believe it. And they'll build podcasts around it. And they'll get clicks around it. They'll get super chats about it. You know, they'll grow their subscription over it. And it's lies, guys. That rhymes. Whether it's lies from the left or lies from the right, that don't make no difference to Jesus. Lies are lies. And I'm calling my side out on it because I've seen a lot of my side doing it. And it's very cruel. In fact, I would say it's more cruel when the right puts out fake news than when the left puts out fake news, because the left puts out fake news to keep their base miserable and ignorant. That's why the left puts out their fake news. They want everybody to think they're oppressed, that there's systemic racism everywhere, that there's sexism everywhere, that climate change is destroying everything. We've heard all the narratives. And I guarantee you, look, you guys want to hear what's funny? Here's what I predict. You heard this prediction here on January 13th, 2021. The Democrats have one-party rule indefinitely now. Think about it. That's a fact. We are going to be under one-party rule for the foreseeable future. They control the White House. They control Congress. They're going to control the courts. They got the Senate, the House of Reps. And I'm going to make the same prediction that I made in 2008 when Barack Obama was elected. In 2008, I made a prediction, and there's even an old radio show down in Florida you can listen to if the archive is still there of me saying this. But I called into a radio show. It was called Religion, Politics, and Culture with an old friend of mine named Dennis O'Donovan. We formed a friendship after I called in that day because he ended up following up with me. I was on a show for a few times, et cetera, et cetera. And what struck him was it was early 2009. It was like a month after Obama had gotten sworn in. It was like February of 2009. I had been in Florida for 3 days, and I called into Religion, Politics, and Culture predicting that black people are going to be worse off and more unhappy than they've ever been under this first black president. I made that prediction, and I was 27 years old back then. I said black people are going to be worse off than they've ever been. They're going to be more angry than they've ever been, and they're going to be more unhappy than they've ever been under Barack Obama, under the supposed hope and change, yes, we can, first black president. And did my prediction come true? More than I wish it would have. Because the fact of the matter is this: stop killing us, hands up, don't shoot, taking a knee during the Super Bowl, I can't breathe, Black Lives Matter, all that started on Obama's dime. That all started on Obama's dime. Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling. That was all under Barack Obama, under our first black president. Donald Trump was still firing Omarosa on The Apprentice back then when all that stuff was going on. That all started on Obama's dime, folks. And not only did Barack Obama not heal those racial wounds, all that hatred, all that racial tension, all that historic unhappiness among the black community, all the rioting, all the burning down that was going on during those times under the Obama administration, he didn't lessen that. He actually fueled and stoked those racial fires. He made it worse. Barack Obama, Eric Holder, and Loretta Lynch made all that worse. So by the time Trump got sworn in back in 2016, the Obama administration, in conjunction with the Eric Holder and then subsequently the Loretta Lynch Department of Justice, set the stage for all this Black Lives Matter world domination that we see going on right now. They set the stage for all that, folks. That was all Obama. That had nothing to do with Trump. That was long before George Floyd. That was long before Rayshard Brooks. That was long before all that had been going on. And it started under Obama. So the left puts out fake news. I said all that to say this. The left puts out fake news to keep their base miserable and ignorant. And that's cruel. That's bad. But the right puts out fake news. And what ends up happening to their base is they're not miserable and ignorant, because people on the right are pretty informed. Well, you think a lot of them are before they start falling for all the Q crap. But people on the right fall into despair. They fall into hopelessness. They lose their faith. Think of how many people on our side have put faith and hope in the MAGA movement and Donald Trump and this last minute Red Sea moment that's going to happen, this trust the plan narrative that none of us have any proof for, that nobody that talks about it has any proof about. It's always based on my source, or I've heard, it's been reported, but no concrete proof of what they're talking about. And what's going to end up happening is if January 20th comes and goes and all this trust the plan crap doesn't happen, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to fall into despair and hopelessness. They're going to be angry at God. And that's dangerous. And it all came as a result of fake news from the right, not from the left, because people on our side, we don't watch CNN. We don't watch New York Times. We don't listen to NPR. We listen to people like Q, whoever he is. If the guy really believed in what he says, why not show your face and your name? I show my name and face. I don't hide anything. Why you have to hide behind a letter? Like Sesame Street. Today's episode brought to you by the letter Q. Why you got to hide behind a name? But behind a letter? Because he knows he's full of crap. And he knows that most of what he says he has no proof or evidence for, and it's not going to come true. Because if he truly revealed who he was, the guy wouldn't be able to get a job anywhere probably. He wouldn't be able to go to any grocery store without getting egg all over his face. So he hides behind a pseudonym, he hides behind the darkness, and he hides behind a freaking letter. All while ramping up his subscriptions, his super chats, selling whatever products he's selling, because he is exploiting people's hopelessness. And that's just a fact. I hate to say this. The letter Q is a military special ops situation, you'll find out. And Robert, maybe you're right, but what if we don't find out, Robert? And I'm not being mean to you. We're having a conversation. I'm not being mean to you. The letter Q is a military special. Okay, maybe it is. But name a single thing that Q has said that's come true regarding the. Now, again, a lot of what he teaches, I believe in, like the pedo ring stuff. I'm for all that. I've counted Trump out of the 2020 election. I'm not saying that he's not going to make some kind of comeback in the future, but that's the purpose of why they're impeaching him today, folks. They're impeaching him again today to make damn sure that he doesn't run again in 2024. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to absolutely destroy him. It's one of the 48 laws of power. Crush your enemy completely. That's one of the 48 laws of power, is to crush your enemy completely. Laws. It's Law 15. Law 15 from 48 laws of power. All great leaders since Moses has known that a feared enemy must be crushed completely. Sometimes they have learned this the hard way. If one ember is left alight, no matter how dimly it smolders, a fire will eventually break out again. More is lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will recover and seek revenge. Crush him, not only in body, but in spirit. That's Law 15 of the 48 laws of power. And then it breaks it down. Number 1, do not sympathize with your enemies. Your enemy will bide his time and strike back when you least expect. You best believe every one of these Democrats and Republicans, they've all familiarized themselves with the 48 laws of power. We could see Law 15 in play right today. That's what happened. Law 15. Crush your enemy completely. They are making sure that Trump goes out. If they can't get him ousted, if they can't remove him, they're trying to do everything they can to get him to just resign in 7 days. But if he decides to stick in there for another 7 days, they're going to make his life a living hell. They're going to make him regret they're trying to make him regret. I'm not saying they'll succeed, but they're trying to wage political, economic, legal, and psychological warfare on Donald Trump. And part of the psychological warfare that they are trying to wage on President Donald Trump is they're trying to make him regret ever coming down that elevator in June of 2015, for ever daring to go against the establishment, forever daring to set down all of his private sector wealth so that he could truly try to make America great again, which, by the way, that was Reagan's quote, not Donald Trump. Reagan was the one who said, make America great again. Donald Trump, being the smart businessman he was, copied that and ran with it. Number 2, when you pity or hope for reconciliation, it will make you hesitate. Number 3, an enemy that is left around is like a half-dead viper that you nurse back to health. You only strengthen their fear and hatred of you. Finally, it concludes with number 4, give your enemies nothing to negotiate, no hope, no room to maneuver. Law 15 of the 48 laws of power. That's what we're seeing in front of us today. 48 Laws of Power is a pretty controversial book. I first learned about it back in 2014. When I first heard about it, when I first bought it and started reading through, I thought it was from the pits of hell. I thought it was satanic and demonic. But something told me to keep reading it. And the more I got to know that book, the more I got to read it, the more I realized that it's actually a defense manual. There are some of those laws that if you use them, you're a straight up scumbag. You're a crook, you're deceitful, and you're a scumbag if you implement some of the laws that are in there. But I don't think Robert Greene wrote the 48 Laws of Power to make us all scumbags. I think it's a manual for defense, not for offense. In other words, if you learn those laws, it'll let you see when they're in play. It'll help you defend yourself against those who would try to use those laws against you. And he uses all these examples, generals, businessmen, all these historic examples of people that use these 48 laws of power. And we've been witnessing Law 15 today, guys. Crush your enemy completely. And somebody's blowing up my phone. And I'm not, good thing I got on vibrate. And I'm not going to refer to the Q right as conspiracy theorists. That's why I call them the Q right. I don't call them conspiracy theorists. You know why, guys? Because I'm actually a conspiracy theorist myself. I am. If you guys, and this is why I'm working on getting an iTunes version of what I do. Because guys, if I shared with you some of my conspiracy theory, if I were to share with you some of the things that I believe, I'd probably get thrown off all the platforms, just like Trump did. Who knows? Some of you guys might unfollow me. And a lot of what I believe, I actually have proof for. It's not just a bunch of conjectures or a bunch of cleverly weaved together coincidences. I've got actual proof to back up my conspiracy theories. And the reason why I'm a conspiracy theorist is because I believe that the actual conspiracy theory is not what I believe, not what I've researched, and not what I have proof and evidence of. The conspiracy theory is the mainstream media narrative. That's what the conspiracy theory is. And once you learn to look into things and think critically, you'll get to realize that you're not the crazy one. You realize that you're not the crazy one. You'll actually realize that the mainstream media are the ones who are crazy. You guys want to see proof? Here's one of my conspiracy theories, just to kind of lighten things up a little bit, and then I'll close. One of my conspiracy theories, as much as I love Michael Jackson, I believe he's the king of pop. But one of my conspiracy theories is that Michael Jackson was not very original. He was a great dancer. He was a great singer, but he was not original. Most of his trademarks he did not come up with on his own. For example, this notion of Michael Jackson standing on his tippy toes. What if I were to tell you that him wearing, and I talked about this on a video the other day, Michael wearing, his penny loafers with his white socks with his flooded pants, and then he'd have the penny loafers, the flooded pants, and the white socks, and he'd stand up on his tippy toes. You guys remember that? You know what I'm talking about. You guys know this move where Mike would just, boom, get up on his toes, right? He's got the penny loafers here. He's got the white socks, and he stands up on his tippy toes, right? Well, I don't believe that he came up with that. As cool as it was when he did it, and as much as I love MJ, he's one of my favorite singers. I love Michael Jackson. But that wasn't his move. What if I told you that his father-in-law is the one who invented it? Here's his father-in-law, or at least for a year and a half was his father-in-law, Elvis Presley, because he married Lisa Marie. And Elvis Presley was the guy who stood up on his tippy toes while wearing penny loafers, white socks, and flooded pants. Right? That's the guy who invented it. See, so the conspiracy theory is that Michael Jackson was this musical genius, and he was a genius in his own way. But the conspiracy theory is that he was this original, otherworldly musical genius, this dance genius that came up with all these moves that revolutionized dancing, and those moves were his moves and his alone. But the fact is they weren't. What if I were to tell you guys that Michael didn't even invent the moonwalk? When you think of the moonwalk, the first thing you think, oh, that's Michael Jackson. He's got a patent on the moonwalk. Nobody does the moonwalk. And when you do some research, you'll actually find out that Michael is on record saying that he didn't invent the moonwalk, that he actually learned it from some kids in the ghetto. But sorry to say that that's a lie, guys. Michael lied about that. I love Mike. I love him. God rest his soul. But he was lying, man. He didn't get the moonwalk from black kids in the ghetto. That sounds sweet, like, oh, this mega millionaire, this mega superstar, honoring black kids in the ghetto by using their move and perfecting their move, the moonwalk. He took it from somebody black. It just wasn't from black kids in the ghetto. And I will back up my conspiracy theory.
Take me on home.
There it is. There's the moonwalk. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, guys. That's the tip of the iceberg. But as time goes on, as you start to hear me talk about Trump and MAGA less and less, I'll still keep track of Trump. He's still, we haven't seen the last of Trump. We haven't seen the last of that. But as time goes on, I'm going to get into some more of my things that I believe. And again, these are going to be based on things that we can control. We're going to start having fun, guys. We got to start lightening this up. I hope I was able to be a source of hope to you guys throughout this whole 2020 debacle. I tried my best. I corrected myself when I knew I was wrong. And I really hope that I did a good job of keeping you guys informed, keeping your spirits up. But one of the tactics of battle is you have to know when one of your fortresses has been overrun. And sometimes you have to retreat and you have to regroup so that you can come back stronger. And that's what I'm going to be focused on doing. I'm going to be focused, like I said, a lot on my health and wealth, but I will be sharing that with you guys. We're going to be walking that journey together. And I am going to get more into I'm going to get more into communism. As time goes on, these podcasts are going to become a lot more. I mean, they already are educational, and I appreciate you guys, all the kind words you guys, the kind things you say about this. But you guys are going to feel like you're in class, man. You guys are going to be getting Oxford University level lectures from me about various topics that I've been passionate about for many, many years now. And it's going to educate you. It's going to enlighten you. It's going to inform you. And I really hope you enjoy it. I'm looking forward to delivering it to you. And, like I said, I'll be broadcasting 1 or 2 days a week for now so that I can focus on my business. But when I do broadcast those 1 or 2 days, you best believe it's going to be really good content. You're going to really love it and enjoy it. Please like this video, comment on it, share it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I know we're all ticked off at big tech. And I'm working on getting on some of those other smaller platforms, but YouTube has been very good to me, I got to say. So until I start having problems with YouTube, I'm going to keep building that. So I appreciate you guys coming out. And I will see you guys. I will. I definitely will talk about socialism. I most definitely will. And this is an example. And I appreciate you sharing, Jordan. He's got a trump card to play yet. And maybe he does. But until I see proof that he does, I don't know. Until I see proof that he does, I'm not going to comment on it. Signing off, guys. Take care. Catch you on the next one.